all. It gives me immense pleasure in welcoming you all for the 3-day FDP. I welcome all the MSLC participants who have joined us early today. Thank you, participants. The session will start shortly. Thank you for participating. Ma'am, good morning, ma'am. Shobha, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome to the FDP, ma'am. Ma'am, shall we start, ma'am?
Yeah, we'll start.
Yes, ma'am. I kindly request Dr. Manasa to extend the welcome address. Over to you, Manasa, madam.
Sir, thank you so much. Warm morning to all my fellow mates. This is an August gathering where each one of you have earned their place, and it is a pride that we invite all of you. We extend a hearty welcome on the second day of 3-day International Faculty Development Program. Greetings. I take this chance to welcome our chairman, sir, Dr. B.B. Babu Manoharan, MA, MBA, PhD, who has been a guiding light always. I also would like to welcome our Managing Director, Mrs. Jessie Priya ma'am, our Director, sir, B. Sashi Shekhar, sir, who has supported us without a second thought. I also welcome our Principal, sir, Dr. Vadi Seshagiri Rao, and our Dean, ma'am, Dr. B. Parvadavardhani, ma'am, who have guided us. And also, I like to take this chance to welcome our Head of the Department, Dr. V. Valinaikam, sir, who has always been utmost supportive. I take this opportunity to welcome our speaker for this day, Dr. K. N. Shobana ma'am, Dr. M. Ilan Kumaran sir, and also Dr. V. K. Kartiga ma'am, who will enlighten us with their abundant knowledge. I welcome all our faculty and most importantly, the participants for this 3-day International Faculty Development Program on challenges, prospects of teaching English language, literature, linguistics, and culture. I kindly request Mr. Dolphin, sir, to introduce the speaker, Dr. K. N. Shobha, to this August gathering. Sir, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. It's my pleasure to introduce our chief guest. Dr. Shobha K.N. is working as an assistant professor of English in Anna University, Chennai. Dr. Shobha did her MA, MPhil, and PhD in Madras University. She is a gold medalist in MA education. Her area of interest are English language teaching, content development and materials design, teacher research and teacher education, educational technology and literature and environment. Dr. Shobha has done many research projects and has received prestigious awards such as Innovative Teacher Award 2020 by Rotary Club International, English Language Teacher Research Partnership Award 2013 by British Council, and editor Journal of English as an international language, University of Western Cape, South Africa. Ma'am has authored many books for reputed publications and has published many research articles which are cited by many for research purpose. Ma'am, we are very grateful that you are here to share your thought. Over to you, ma'am.
So, thank you, Dolphin, sir, for that wonderful introduction. I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. So, let's start the session. Before that, I would like to register my thanks to the college, St. Joseph Engineering College, to the entire team, Venkateshwar sir and Dolphin, Manasa man, and all these people, because I've been seeing, yesterday I joined for the inauguration, and the kind of bonhomie that was here, the kind of friendliness and frankness that was here was something that was enjoyable. I was logged in and I was listening to the session till my classes started at Anna University. So certain ideas that your principals sir also pointed out, like how the current situation has demanded a revisitation of the entire skills that our students require, what kind of ideas have to be taught. Okay, may I just request some of you to be on mute so that there will not be disturbance. Great. So, and also when the speaker was talking about how different cultures are there, it's a global world, and we have to change our perspective towards cultures. If we have to travel, get a job and work elsewhere, how the teaching of the English language itself has been a little different, right? And when Karunakaran sir was talking about different challenges, so I was just wondering, even in India, we are talking about so many challenges like the digital divide, connectivity issues, with the schools and college students. So I was just thinking about the situations in Sri Lanka and how challenged the teachers of English will be feeling there. Though they are able to learn a lot now, how are they able to carry it in their classrooms, right? And then Saravanan sir spoke about the need for the teachers of English to, come together, leaving out the differences of being an ELT specialist or literature specialist or linguistic specialist. I think I totally agree with him there, because I also believe that we learn language through literature, and linguistics is all about the science of the language, and ELT is nothing but applied linguistics. So when we are teaching the language to others, it's a different experience altogether. And I think we should combine all these things. We should integrate all these things. Only then it becomes, a very fruitful experience, both for the teacher and for the learner. Of course, Praveen Sam spoke about reading skills, and when Praveen sir was talking about how they are also the culture of reading in India, the banned books. In fact, in today's Hindu, the editorial, it carried about, should universities be teaching controversial books in their syllabus? So I was quite interested when he was talking about Periyar's The True Ramayana. I'm just trying to get hold of that book, in fact. So we have been looking at all these things. So Venkateshwara sir, I think I just gave you a report of what happened yesterday to all the audience here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that, ma'am, for summarizing everything, ma'am.
Yeah.
It shows your commitment, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
No, it was very interesting. I think this kind of a group is very interesting, because when Anna University is affiliated to so many colleges, we are really interested in what and how these colleges are also, conducting all these programs, the amount of reach that we have. I think it's a very commendable effort that you are doing, and I'm also really happy that I'm here. We also have one of my good friends, Kartika, on board from NIT Trichy, and Praveen Sam was there. Divya John will be speaking tomorrow. So, this whole Saravanan sir was using the word galaxy of experts and distinguished delegates. So it's a very nice thing. And when other teachers from colleges who are all starting their careers, who are ready to explore, right? When they are all present, we also feel very enthused to share our thoughts, to say what is changing, to say how they can also focus on certain ideas which can help them improve their own professional development. So we are also interested in all this, and I'm really happy to be here. I see a lot of my friends here. Of course, our own Sabaratnan is here. Many of them who are research scholars of Anna University. So today I will be focusing upon how employability skills can be enhanced, especially in today's scenario for engineering graduates. I remember principals are also emphasizing on the point that it all boils down to the employability of the students, and it has become a cliche to say that though engineering students possess excellent technical skills, there is always this communication gap, and having learned English for so many years, how they are finding it difficult to manage the communication in today's world. So I was just thinking what would be really helpful to this kind of a teachers group, is something that they can take back to their classes and tell their students about. So the content that I will be presenting today came out of this thought. When they try and present themselves to employers, to job opportunities, what are certain things that they will have to keep in mind, and what is the job scenario? So recently, I also had some opportunities to talk with, lot of HR consultancies and students of LIBA, Loyola Institute of Business Administration. So these students have been doing a lot of research on the changing scenario of the job market and what is being expected out of students in the job market. Of course, as you can see, most of us are also, at least some of us are working from home. We are trying to balance a lot of things. Now I have to finish this and then go to the university. So several ideas we are trying to combine, and our work style has completely changed. How do we make our students also understand that? Okay, so that will be the main contention of my arguments today, and I have also prepared a presentation. So allow me to share my presentation. Great. I hope my screen is visible to you all.
Yes,
madam.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So when we are talking about enhancing employability skills, which means that we agree that our students already possess good employability skills through professional communication. So we have this course called professional communication. Then we have the communication lab in which we are testing our students in group discussion skills, interview skills, so many other communicational aspects, especially for engineering students. But then there is always a need to revisit. See, for us, we might feel that, oh, GD we have been doing for 10 years. I know how to teach a GD. Oh, interview skills, I have been teaching them for the past 10, 15 years. But for the student, it is very new, right? For the student, it is like, okay, so placement is very important because we are talking about families here. We are talking about, a lot of things at stake here. So many students are looking for good jobs after their college. They are thinking of getting a good job and supporting their family. Not all students are ready for higher education. So there are a lot of implications that employability skills has on the teachers also, because we are also part of it. We are also important stakeholders. And what kind of difference can the English teacher bring, especially when it comes to the employability skills? So that will be the focus of my presentation today. Uh, as I was going through, I was just reading a lot of reports, right, from Forbes, McKinsey, and from the world of work. So they are trying to say that the future world of work is going to be very different. So as you can see from the picture, these are all our students. They are working on different things like electronics and communications, or computers, mechanical engineering students, artificial intelligence, robotics. There are so many things. But then there are also certain skills that they will need, right, along with their technical knowledge. So let us try and see what are the main aspects that define the skills that our students will have to face when they enter the world of work. So today, if you see, just like our teachers, just like our students are finding teachers redundant. So there is a wonderful book called "Why Do I Need a Teacher When I Have Google?" Okay, I keep mentioning this book in most of my talks because that is one book that kind of had a great impact on me. And whenever I do content development, or whenever I take a class, whenever I handle a class, I try and think, what value can I bring? Okay, what kind of value can I add to my class, apart from whatever they are already having access to? So today students have lot of access to different kinds of materials, different kinds of content. If they Google something, they can find everything. So what is the teacher doing? The same question has now shifted to the world of work also. Like, employers are asking, okay, this work, I think if I can automate it, anybody can do this work. So what is very big about hiring somebody for this job, and somebody who has a engineering degree, and I have to pay that person so much? Okay, so the cost of the company, all these ideas are becoming very important these days. So we have to try and tell them that they have to add certain kind of value, okay, beyond all these automated systems and intelligent machines. So earlier, if you see, we used to do everything, right? Today it is not like that. If you want to create a chart, if you want to create a video, it is very easy. Earlier we used to have a whole an organization, like an enterprise called DTP. Okay, even now there is DTP, but then we are easily able to voice record and then get it typed. We are able to convert it into text. Okay, translators are going redundant these days, because anything that you can just find on the internet, you are able to translate and just tweak it a little, so that you get the target language text. So beyond that, what value can the student bring? Okay, so is it just that the student has to get a job to do things, or is there something beyond it? So we should ask our students to think about this. What value do you bring? Because this is an important question in all the interviews, right? So they can easily question our students like, okay, I have interviewed 4 of you who have the same marks and same degrees. Why should I hire you? Right? So what value can you add to my organization? So this is one question that is being asked to students. and the student should be able to answer that question. So we have to prepare the students, making them think about their core values. What is certain thing that, what are certain things that they can do very differently if they are added to the company. The second thing is how to operate in a digital environment. It is totally needless for me to say that all of us today have become digitally savvy. We are living in a phygital world, phygital as in PHY, because we are also interacting physically. We are going to the classrooms, but we are also very comfortable in our digital environment. So any kind of extra classes that we want to schedule, or any kind of meetings that we cannot do during the working hours, which we think cannot be very productive, we just shift it to the digital environment. So we have to make them very, very comfortable in the digital environment. Of course, students from metropolitan cities, students who have access to these urbanized economies, they have good access to the digital environment, and they are very comfortable with using all these gadgets or tools. But we will have to think about the second tier and the third tier, you know, students who are coming. So how to operate in a digital environment. And there is also a need to continuously adapt. So this is something that is very important. See, we are not using the same cell phone which we were using 10 years ago, right? So they have to adapt to new ways of working. Now, suddenly when our management is telling us, you have to handle classes online, but you also have to come to college and handle a few lab classes, we are just confused. We do not know how to arrange the timetable, or we do not know how to plan our day, right? So our students also will be facing the same problem. And those students who are ready to adapt, okay, when they are ready to adapt, they will be becoming more employable, and those kind of new ways of working and new occupations are becoming more and more welcome in today's environment. When you talk about new occupations, see, most of the students, recently I met an arts college student who had completed his BA in English. So I was asking him what are his future plans. The student was telling me, ma'am, I am currently working as a Swiggy delivery person. Okay, all these food delivery or supply chain model, if you see, today everybody wants things to come home. We are talking about home delivery options these days. So he says, I am very comfortable there, and I think I will be able to earn there. So I was just thinking him, but when you joined your BA in English, was this the passion? Was this the aim that you had? You wanted to join BA in English? Why did you join BA English? He said, ma'am, but then this is the new thing that is happening, and there is also a need. So I also think I'm contributing to the society. It is not like my job is redundant, or it is something that is very shameful. So students are thinking about new ways of working and new occupations, right? So we have to try and guide them in that way also. So today, if you look at the model that has come up, it is called as a hybrid model. Okay. Now, suddenly, if there is a meeting and if a few people are not there, the company is saying, okay, let us do it online. Okay, let us do it online, and a few of them are present physically, and a few of them are present at different parts of the world, and then they have joined into that meeting. So this hybrid model is coming up, which we should tell our students, and which we should also make them ready, because our students will be attending a lot of interviews virtually also next year, whether it is placement or whether it is, they are trying to find a job themselves. There will be a hybrid model that is coming up, and they have to be ready for that. So they should not say, I am only ready for a 9 to 5 job. I don't understand when you say that I have to work remotely. Okay, so working remotely comes with a lot of advantages and disadvantages, right? See, all of us are very comfortable when we enter our office cabins and when we start our work there. Okay, but there are certain problems in that also, right? Some of us have to manage our family. We juggle with so many things. So work from home is considered to be a great option for women who can work from anywhere. Okay, so the companies are also thinking of cutting down transportation costs, logistics, and all these things. So we have to prepare our students when we tell them how remote work with work in some other office is also possible when we are talking about this remote work. So we are talking about a career in a VUCA world. Okay, so this is one term that most of us are using these days. It is a very old term, in fact, but we are using that word today. How do you think you will survive? What will be your employability quotient in a VUCA world? So VUCA is actually an acronym. Can I have some, answers in the chat box explaining what VUCA is? Like V stands for something, U stands for something, C and A also stand for a few things. So we have to discuss this VUCA world to our students when we are talking about employability skills. So what do you think this VUCA world stands for? Any options or any answers? If you know, please type it in the chat box. So what do we actually mean when we say VUCA world? So V stands for something, U stands for something. So they have to live in this VUCA world. They have to find a job in this VUCA world.
Virtual, ma'am. Virtual world.
Virtual, okay. So there is something else. Okay, great. So we have people answering here: Srima, Manasa, Subha, Mohammed, Jabir. Yes, VUCA stands for all these things, right? It stands for volatility. It stands for uncertainness. Uncertainty. It stands for some kind of a complexity and ambiguous. Great. So thank you for your answers. So we know that when we are talking about this career in a VUCA world, we are talking about a space which is very volatile, right? We talk about the volatile situations. We talk about markets being highly volatile. Today, the job market, if you look at the newspapers, they are promising a lot of things to us, right? They are telling us, oh, the job market is very fine, the crude oil prices are balanced. So one day it is a different, most of our salaries have been gone up and down, right? So some of us are trying to manage with these things. Most of them have lost their jobs. So there is some kind of uncertainty also, because recently when I was discussing with my students, they were telling me automobile industry has undergone a vast change, right? People are wondering, okay, how do we manage with this kind of an investment? How do we get a job when there is no need for me to travel? Okay, when I am doing work from home. So there are a lot of these problems. So there is a lot of uncertainty, and there is also a complexity. Like I told you, when we have to plan our day with so many things, so many meetings, and because these meetings are virtual, there is literally no time fixed, right? Because we are talking about meetings in the evening, so many other different timings that we will have to plan for. So it is very complex. And then there is a lot of ambiguity also. So they've said that the schools are going to be reopened from November 1st. I also read in the papers that the first year students, arts and science colleges, are going to go to college from Monday onwards. So there is a lot of ambiguity. Students are confused. Students are asking, so will we go to college? So how will it work? Only 20 students will sit in the class. So what will happen to the other 20 students? When will I go to college? So there are so many confusion like that. And we have to survive in this world, right? So we are talking about vaccination programs. We are talking about virtual interviews. All this is volatile because we are thinking, okay, this will be all right and we will settle down. So this is a kind of a world into which our students are going to enter for their employment. So we have to tell our students even this. Things will be like this. Suddenly the company may say, we are hiring you. And they might say that, okay, we are hiring you only if you are joining for this salary. Because we will not provide you insurance. We will not provide you health insurance. So these days, students are also becoming very smart. They are asking, is health insurance covered? Is it covered for my parents also? Is my internet, is that provided? So all these things students are also asking. So our students also have to be very smart and ask these kind of questions to the employer. They should be aware of these things, right? And how to survive in this kind of world. It is not like, it is going to be a permanent thing. It will change, but then we will also have to tell our students about these things before they enter a virtual interview or any kind of a job for that matter. So most of the researchers, if you see right from McKinsey and Forbes, which are the leading pioneers when it comes to world of work, skills, employability. They are talking about some 56 skills. Okay, so they are talking about some 56 skills, and they have divided these 56 skills into 4 parts. So the first part is cognitive. So within cognitive, if you see, there are so many other skills. Now you must be telling me, ma'am, but all these things was existing already. Okay, we have been talking about problem solving and logical reasoning for a long time. So what is it very new now? Now, post pandemic, there are different problems, okay, different kinds of logical reasoning that they have to understand, and understanding biases also, why somebody is selected and why I am not selected, whether do I have some kind of bias in my mind, and seeking relevant information. What kind of information do I need to know before I join the company? Okay, planning and ways of working. How do I actually plan? How do I plan my development? How do I manage time? See, during the lockdown of that whole year, we were planning to do so many things. But finally, if you see, you know what of we ended up doing. So how do you prioritize? Because now with all this kind of time, companies are also thinking, okay, I'm asking you to work from home. I understand. But then I want you to be on job from 9 to 5 or the timings that I'm telling you, right? And do you have that kind of quick thinking to reschedule things and juggle with so many other responsibilities also? Are you able to plan properly? And when it comes to communication, which is obviously, one skill that will never go out of fashion, out of demand. When we are communicating online, when we are communicating virtually or in the job uh, arena or in the world of work, how well are we able to persuade people? Because most of these engineers, if you see, they will be working with people. Most of the jobs are automated. So we are not talking about entry level machinery jobs here, right? Our students are not going to go entry level working with machines. Most of the jobs are automated these days. So they have to work with people actually. When they work with people, definitely storytelling is going to be a huge skill. Public speaking, asking the right kind of question, synthesizing messages. Now this is coming out of a report which was written in June 2021. Okay, so definitely a lot of active listening that they will have to do, because in a virtual meeting, just imagine when 4 of them are speaking, or when there's a panel interview, how are you going to tackle it? Then mental flexibility is also very important, creativity and imagination. Even when I'm designing a simple PowerPoint presentation, I'm just thinking, okay, how do I present this idea? Should I just put bullet points, or should I put a picture, or should I just put some text, or should I not have a PPT at all? And how do I translate knowledge into different contexts? Like, so this is a context where I'm meeting a lot of teachers. So when I'm meeting a lot of teachers, how do I translate the knowledge that I have gathered? If I'm talking to students, my PPT will look very different. So adopting a different perspective also. Now we are talking about the post-pandemic kind of a perspective where our children are going to enter this employment. So definitely ability to learn is very important, because now if you see, in a very recent interview, a student was asked, what are some of the things that you have developed in your during the lockdown? What are some of the things that you have done? Now, this student gave a very impressive answer. The student was talking about the online courses which they did, not just which courses, but also why, what, how. They are able to think in a very structured manner and give a very impressive answer. So it is not just like I did this course, I did that course. So many students, if you see, they are doing this data visualization courses. What is this data visualization courses? So now all of us know that there are a lot of data that is coming up, right? Big data, data analysis. That is the huge market now. So when we are doing these kind of things, data storytelling, one student was telling, I learned how to tell a story out of data. So this student was working in Amazon, okay, at a managerial position. And the student was saying, I learned how to tell a story, create a story out of data. So data is nothing but graph, numbers, and pie charts. So there is a different kind of mental flexibility that is expected from the students of today. So the ability to learn, Okay, so okay, you were at home, you had your online classes from say 9 to 4, but apart from that, what did you do, right? So these are the kind of things that people are asking. So cognitively, everything related to the brain, there is a lot of expectation when it comes to employability. So we spoke about communication, but then a lot of new interpersonal skills are required, mobilizing systems. So this role modeling, they are trying to see if I hire this person, will he be a good role model for my company? Does he have a cultural fitment? So this was a new word to me also. So we have learned about acclimatization. We have learned about getting used to that atmosphere. But they are talking about cultural fitment. Will this person be a good cultural fit for my company? Okay, so crafting and inspiring vision for yourself first. So if I'm asking you to introduce yourself, what vision do you have? And do you know well about this area? If you are planning to join a petroleum company, do you know well about this? If you are planning to join, some kind of an organization, what kind of organizational awareness do you have? Because all this will affect the interpersonal relationships inside the company, and this in turn will have a great impact on the employability. So when it comes to developing relationships, empathy is topping the list. How are you able to empathize with your co-worker? Okay, so what kind of things do you say or do that will inspire trust? So we talk about trust all the time, but even after this, are you a very a good simple person with lot of humility? Are you able to help others? Do you have that humility? And the sociability factor also. Are you a very sociable person? Like, can you try and be friendly with a wide range of people? We are talking about inclusiveness these days, right? So all of you know how before you start a football match, there is this Black Lives Matter, you kneel down, you show your solidarity for somebody else. So today, if you see, there is a lot of inclusivity that is coming up. I recently had a call from a trans person asking if they could apply for the position of, a teaching position. So I said, if you have the certificates and if you think you can crack the interview, just apply. But if it was 10 or 15 years earlier, I would have thought, I don't know how I would have answered to that person. Today, we are extremely comfortable talking to any kind of person, right? Earlier, we used to have different ideas. We used to have a lot of biases. But today, when you go to a place to work, you are expected to have inclusiveness. If you have listened to, Google's entire vision, they try and have intercultural, inclusivity as one of their visions. That is, they want people from all countries to work in Google. Now that is a very tactical thing to do, because when Google is hiring different kinds of people, when Google wants to hire different countries, hire different kinds of people, the aim is they want to have representation everywhere. Now, just like you have a Domino's pizza, you have Starbucks everywhere, right? So that is how Google is also trying to understand the market. So you cannot say, I cannot work with that person. That person has some disability. I cannot work with that person. Don't put that person in my team because that person is a little different. Okay. So we have to tell them how tomorrow they have to work with different kind of people. So, people are very forward these days, and we have to prepare our students also. It will be a little difficult for them to, adapt themselves to these kind of places. Motivating different personalities, they are trying to see whether if I give you a job, you will be working only for yourself or you will also try and motivate others. Conflict resolution is something that we already know. Will you be able to collaborate? So when you join my company, I want you to collaborate with other companies also and bring a lot of value to my company. This is the value that we are talking about. Will you be able to coach people? Okay, and can you empower others? Just like, for me, if you see, if you look at the my resume, my career objective, I believe that English language teaching is a tool of empowerment. It is a vehicle of empowerment. So I love empowering students, teachers with the little that I know. So when it comes to the second quarter, like, out of the four important ideas after cognitive, interpersonal skills is something that is absolutely important when it comes to employability skills. Then there is this new idea of self-leadership that is coming up. Now, what is the self-leadership? All of us know leadership qualities are very important, but when you talk about self-leadership, so if you think of self-leadership, uh, how do you talk about how can I be my own leader? Self-awareness and self-management they are talking about. So understanding your own emotions. All of us teach emotional intelligence as part of our communication skills. But are you able to understand your own emotions and triggers? Can you not be triggered? So most of us know that in say in a department meeting, somebody says something, then we become very angry and we talk. Okay, do you have that self-control and regulation? So when a student is applying for a job, there are a lot of psychometric tests that are conducted to check whether the student understands their own strengths, because most of them don't know their own strengths, right? So SWOT analysis we do. Then you're also talking about integrity. So integrity is absolutely an important, trait that people are looking for. Self-motivation and wellness. So wellness is again an important concept. We are talking about mental wellness, emotional wellness, and physical wellness as well. What is this physical wellness? Right? If you look at companies these days, they are promoting a lot of physical activities, marathons. Okay, they want students who are healthy and who can lead the organization. So you would have seen big CEOs, you would have read about the 5 a.m. morning club or early morning habits of successful people. You would have read about all these ideas. So we talk about this kind of wellness here, okay? Because they think that if you are able to control your body and if you are able to understand your emotions, then you can have a lot of self-confidence and self-leadership as well. So we are talking about entrepreneurship here. You must be wondering how an employee can be an entrepreneur, right? I think as educationists, we are also entrepreneurs. So you can ask me, ma'am, are you an entrepreneur? I will say, yes, I think I'm an entrepreneur. So what are the entrepreneurial qualities that I have? I have a lot of courage and risk taking. Sometimes I think when recently a project came to me from the Ministry of Skills Development and Entrepreneurship, I was asked to do storyboards. That is, they were converting textbooks into an interactive app where it will be like a video game. So what is the student going to do? Today I'm going to learn communication skills. So the student presses a button, then there is a character that is coming, and the character says, I am so-and-so, and I work in this company. Today I'm going to talk about occupational safety. I'm going to talk about how to use a fire extinguisher. Okay, so this is for the ITI students. And then there are a lot of other things that is happening. So we have to write the story, we have to create these characters, and students have to, it is interactive content. Like you have to choose the answer. Then there is somebody saying, oh, that is the wrong answer. Why don't you try again? So I was very scared. I didn't know whether I could do this because I know that I can write textbooks. I know that I can write research papers. I can handle classes, do webinars or seminars. But creating a video game, I was just wondering. Then I underwent some kind of a training for this on my own. I tried to understand what storyboard is. I went on a course on Coursera. I was just looking at so many other websites. On YouTube, I watched a lot of videos. So that is how I kind of trained myself. I didn't want to tell them, I don't know about this storyboarding. I'm sorry, I will not be able to do it. Okay, so this is called as understanding your own strengths. Now that I know it, I am very comfortable. Yesterday also we had a workshop where we were discussing with this Bharat Skills app group. So they were when they were asking the questions, I was very comfortable and I was answering them. Right? So you have to take a risk. So maybe if I was not answering properly, maybe if I did not do the background work, I wouldn't have got the chance. So today when I'm trying to do this, so now I will be ready to apply this even to our own syllabus, right? So when I'm able to do it for ITI, I will be thinking, why don't we do it for our own students? This way, I can also drive change and innovation. So this is how our students also should have mentality of entrepreneurship. Though they are working for a company, how can they change the way that they are doing things? How can they bring certain value to the company? So when I do this and when I propose this as a research project, maybe it will be some kind of an innovative thing that I'm doing. And for all this, I need the energy, passion, and optimism, right? So I had the optimism. I thought that, okay, when I have to do storyboarding, when I looked at it for the first time, it was really very difficult. But now I know how it has to be done. There are so many tools now, right? So breaking orthodoxies, not just sticking to the 9 to 5 job, but being able to talk to people. Now when I have a meeting with somebody from the UK, definitely they will schedule the meeting at 7:30 in the evening, because 7:30 in the evening is 2 o'clock for them in the afternoon. So they are very comfortable for that time. So I cannot tell them, no, but I work only 9 to 5. You cannot give me a meeting after my working hours, right? And the way we communicate with our students also. So as a teacher in my job, how can I be breaking orthodoxies? How can I tell my students? Some of my students will tell me, ma'am, but I'm only in my second year. Do you think I will get this internship? Do you think I should try it next year? So I will tell them, wow, what are you scared of? You just apply, you tell them what you know, but you prepare yourself well. You get it or you don't get it, that is secondary. Why are you thinking that you cannot try it in your second year or in your second semester? Okay, so this kind of breaking orthodoxies is very important, and we should tell our students that they should do it when they go to their jobs also, right? So achievement of goals, ownership and decisiveness. So the person should be able to decide quickly. So I have to decide for myself as a teacher whether, sometimes if you see the class will start late, there will be some internet issues, some students will not be there. So what am I going to do today? So because of AICTE norms, we have to teach courses like philosophy, film appreciation, psychology. See, I also have only a PhD in English, right? Of course, I have done my MA in education. But when I have to teach philosophy or psychology, and when there are words like Upanishads, Socratic dialogues, so I have to do my research. I have to take ownership. I cannot say, no, I can't teach those courses. I'm a professor at the university, so, I have to do it. So taking ownership. Same thing will come to our students also when they are part of some company where a lot of innovations are happening, and they have to take that kind of ownership. Achievement orientation. So I am very oriented towards accomplishing certain things. I tell myself, in a year, I will write proposal for at least 1 or 2 research projects. I will write 2 or 3 research papers, right? So I am oriented towards achievement. So, but it also takes a lot of grit and persistence, right? You get so many rejections from journal articles, from journal papers. Not all your research project is getting accepted. So we have to tell our students also, see, when you are there and you submit a proposal to a company about some innovation, don't expect it to be accepted at once. So coping with uncertainty and self-development. Okay, so the third idea is self-leadership. We have to tell them. Self-leadership is very important. Are you a leader, and do you accept that? So for that, you have to be emotionally strong. You should have self-control. Logging into Netflix or Amazon is very easy during attending a webinar or attending an online class. Checking your WhatsApp constantly is very, addictive. So we have to tell our students how to focus, this concentration, focus. We'll have to try and tell them. And how do we take ownership, right? So self-leadership is the third quarter of the skills. And we talk about this concept all the time. So we know that, digital fluency, and so earlier we used to say language fluency, now digital fluency. So today, if you see on your mobile phone, you will be having Google Meet, Zoom, Cisco WebEx, GeoMeet, Microsoft Teams. Okay, so you will be having all these apps today. You have all kinds of, when you want to talk with people, you have those kind of video call making apps. And you also have many apps which are able to transfer money very easily. So Google Pay we use like normal payment now. Okay. Okay. Some of them are saying voice is not audible. Am I audible? Is there a problem?
Yeah, ma'am. Your voice is audible, ma'am. No problem.
Okay. Maybe. Yeah. So
They have to check
we,
their network. Yes.
maybe some network issues on their side. Yeah. So this kind of digital fluency and citizenship. Okay. Great. Thank you, Gulam, for telling that. So digital literacy, digital learning, digital collaboration, but also understanding digital ethics. Can you simply put a picture now and say, okay, this picture is from internet? No. Right? Software use and development. It is not enough if you know only mechanical engineering. You have to understand software use and development. Most of our students are focusing on CAD, AutoCAD, and so many new things they are learning. So we have to tell them how those things are very important. Programming literacy. Like I told you, I didn't know what storyboarding was, but now I have to download those, apps. I have to create them. I have to share. I have to check whether I have enabled edit option. I have to upload them in the right folders in that cloud which they have created for me. I should remember my password, my ID. Right? So all this is called digital fluency. How fluent am I? Because even for Google Meet, we have different email IDs sometimes which we are logging in. So is the student very comfortable with these things? We get very upset when our students are telling, I am not able to join, I cannot see the screen. So even when you are in Google Meet, sometimes what happens is when you're presenting the screen, the student will be saying, I cannot see your screen, ma'am, I can see only you. So we have to tell them, you pin my presentation. You go through that people section, and in the people section, there will be my name, but there will also be another thing called Shobha K.N.'s presentation. So you pin it. Then the student will try to pin it. Then the student will say, yes, ma'am, now I can see you. I can see the presentation also. Okay, so are the students very comfortable with digital fluency? When it is our students, we tell them. But when we go for an interview, and if they are telling us, we can't see you, we can't hear you, then it creates a very bad impression, right? And because of that, the student should not lose the opportunity for employment. Data analysis and statistics. Just now I was telling you how students are talking about data visualization, data storytelling, algorithmic thinking, understanding the basic algorithms of ideas. Okay, data literacy. All of us have to be, cyber secure. So tech translation and enablement. So if somebody is telling me this picture I want to change, sometimes I usually ask my son, see, I want to use this picture, but then I don't want that text on it. So my son would say, just go to the internet and say whatever you just told now to Google, it will do it for you. If I'm telling him I want to add music to this podcast, he will tell me, go to the internet and ask for stock music or stock photos and try and include it. If I tell him I want to create this logo, he will tell me, just go and do it, ma. Why do you keep asking me? So nowadays I have understood that they are also doing the same thing. They are also going to YouTube and checking. They are also going to Google and checking. So whatever I want to do, I become very self-sufficient. Same thing we have to tell our learners also. Okay, if you're going to understand the digital system, there you will have to just explore a bit so that you understand whatever is very important there. So now I have just spoken about these 4 things. Like, what are the important skills? Now, these are the latest skills. Now, these are the skills that are important for remote working style, working in an office and all that. If you don't have these skills, especially for engineering graduates, it's going to be difficult. So digital skills, the idea of self-leadership, good interpersonal skills, having a vision for yourself, and cognitive skills. Okay, so these are the 4 broad areas under which I have listed out all those 56 skills that they are talking about. Okay, as an English teacher, okay, now I'm an English teacher, how can I go and say a few things that will have an impact on their performance during interviews, how they introduce themselves, networking when they are talking with new people. Okay, so how do they do that? As an English teacher, what can I do for all these things? So I usually tell my students, I don't teach them how to introduce. I teach them how not to introduce themselves. I tell them, see, when you're introducing yourself, don't do this. Now, say, for example, I'm going to introduce myself to you. I tell you, my name is Shobha and I love salad because I love eating salad. So I tell you, my name is Shobha and I love salad. So I'm like, eek. That's not a great way to introduce myself, right? So this can be funny, okay, to some people, but then it can be totally stupid. Now, imagine in the morning, somebody was introducing me. Yeah, Dolphin sir was introducing me, and he simply said, yeah, we have Shobha today. She's from Anna University and she loves eating all these things. That is not the right way to introduce. But if this was a food club, okay, if this was a food club and all of us have joined together today, see, these days you have so many clubs, yeah, like WhatsApp group. If you see, there are so many WhatsApp groups now, food club, yoga club. So most of our friends, we join together and do certain things together, right? So maybe if I'm talking in a food club, it will be relevant. I love salads, but this is not the right place to be, right? I'm here to teach you employability skills. So our students also, sometimes they don't know where they are introducing themselves. They will introduce themselves as though they are talking to their friends, right? So most of the times we get very upset. We tell them this is not how you introduce in a professional context. So they have to be relevant first. We have to tell them that they are never going to get a second chance to create a first impression. So how will I introduce myself to this group? So today I'm doing a webinar on employability skills. I know that most of them here have come with that aim in mind. So how will I introduce myself? I will say, my name is Shobha and I'm a teacher. So my job is to provide job seekers with expert advice on career-related topics. So how will I do that? I provide this. I do that by reading a lot, and I consult a lot of recruiting professionals, so you don't have to. That is why you have to trust and listen to me, because I have got value in what I'm going to speak. And I will also show you how to hack the recruitment process, create a job-winning resume, ace the job interviews, and how to introduce yourself among others. Now imagine I'm sitting in a class where I'm teaching employability skills. So when I throw this kind of introduction, the students will get interested, right? They will be paying some attention. They will say, oh, so this teacher has been working with the employability related topics. So she knows how to talk to a job seeker, because my learners are job seekers now, right? When I'm teaching employability skills, they are in the 3rd year or 4th year, and they are really interested to any kind of advice. And how do I do it? Look at the words. I read a lot. Okay, so they know that just now I was talking about all these reports, which means that I read a lot. And I consult a lot of recruiting professionals, so that you guys don't have to do all that. And I show you how to hack. Similarly, they should craft an introduction for themselves. This is an activity that I do in my class. I tell my class, see, this is the way I am introducing myself to you. Now imagine you are sitting with Tech Mahindra, you are sitting with Google, you are sitting with this company, you have gone for an interview at Reliance. Okay? You have done the background research about this company, you know what the company produces. So what kind of introduction will you stitch for them? Will you tailor for them? Then they write an introduction, which they are very confident they will be able to change whenever they want to, because based on the skills that they have acquired, what are the skills that they recently learned, whether they're technical skills, hard skills, soft skills, they make the right combination and they prepare an introduction I keep. So I feel it is absolutely important for learners who are into that spectrum of employability to create a very impressive introduction and keep. So I tell them, if you want to introduce yourself professionally, make it relevant to the context. Don't introduce the same way you will introduce yourself in a gym. If you go to a gym, you will be talking about your goals. You will be saying, I want to develop this muscle. I want to look fit. I want to focus on my stamina, right? You can't go and tell all these things in an interview. Go beyond your professional title. So say if you are a mechanical engineer, say that you are a mechanical engineer, but go beyond that. As a mechanical engineer, what do? Say what you are bringing to the table. What value are you ready to add? But be very original. See, whatever I told you now is original, right? I told you because I do all that. I read a lot of content on that. I show people how to do that. And for this, I have definitely prepared. I cannot, just out of my head say, oh, I'm this person and I do all this. If you have not prepared, it will show. And be very careful when coming up with funny ways to introduce yourself, because students these days, they are very casual. They think that, man, you are very serious, man. I'm telling them money is a very serious business. If you are expecting them to pay you, you have to be serious. So no monkey business there. No funny ways to introduce yourself. Okay, so I ask them to reflect, think about the passive and active skills of communication. Okay, what are you going to use your writing, speaking, reading, and listening for? So try and think about these things before you enter my classroom. Think about, okay, today I'm going to learn communication skills for the workplace. What are some of the ways in which I will be using? I make them think, I make them do small group discussions, write certain things. I show them this picture. Okay, so you know what this picture is. It's a Swiss Army knife, and then there are different kinds of screws. I tell them that how for every problem, there is a different skill that is required. You cannot use the same skill for all the problems, just like you cannot use the same screwdriver for all these screws, right? You need a star type one, you need a square headed one. So different kinds of problems will come up in our workplace, different kind of communication problems. Like say, for example, you want to write a complaint letter. The tone is totally different. You want to write an email asking for a promotion. Then the language is very different there. Are you ready? Do you have the whole set here? Like the Swiss Army knife, there is a bottle opener, there is an Allen key, there is so many things, screwdriver, a plier set when you look at the Swiss Army knife. So I tell them for employability also, you should be like this. When you go for a company, you should use a different kind of a tool. You can't use the same resume for all the companies. So I also show them this picture because I believe that human beings are all visually wired, and when we talk in pictures, the student also start connecting with us. I tell them communicating is important, but then communicating well is absolutely critical. If you want that message to reach the person, this is very important. Okay, so I talk a lot about creating presentations or public speaking because even introducing yourself to somebody is a kind of a mini presentation, right? And public speaking is one skill that most of us require these days when you are doing an interview, when you are trying to talk to a group of people. We talk about elevator pitch these days, right? So how do you pitch your idea to somebody? Now, I have been given 1 hour and 15 minutes. So I have to show the amount of preparation I've done, the thoughts that I want you to carry to your classrooms, all that within that time frame. Okay, so this is something that most of you would have already told your students, but this is the key aspect of all presentation secrets. Now, I make a sample presentation and I tell my students, okay, guys, so I'm going to do this sample presentation now, and you are going to give feedback to me. Okay, you are going to give feedback to me, and you are also going to tell me whether you remember anything from my presentation. So this is a kind of a public speaking that I'm going to do for the next 15 minutes because students also will be doing that, right? So you are going to do that definitely when you enter a company. There will be a presentation, there will be a demo presentation that you will have to do. You will have to talk for 2 or 10 or 15 minutes. So you have to prepare. So today the topic that I have chosen is how to learn anything. Okay? So imagine this is a public speaking. Imagine you're all my students. So you are going to give feedback to me at the end of my presentation. So the topic of my presentation is how to learn anything. So I have 3 letters. So I have 3 letters here, BSP, and I'm telling you, this is the secret for any kind of learning that you can do. So what I have done now is I have created a kind of curiosity among my audience, among my listeners. Okay, so because we are all human beings, see, from our childhood, we love solving problems. We want to know. We have played treasure hunt. We play so many games. In colleges and schools, we play this time during the Christmas time. We play a game, right? So we have this lot of curiosity. So I have kindled that curiosity by giving you these 3 alphabets. This is the secret to learn anything. So what is B? B is the burning desire to improve. You need to have that burning desire to improve if you want to learn anything. So all of you know who is on the picture. Chanakya, one of the greatest thinkers in the Indian history. So Chanakya is known to be a great administrator, a Rajtantri, a great thinker. He was also a teacher. He taught at universities during his time. So people were asking him, so you taught many students, but then you can create only one Chandragupta Maurya. You created only this person and you always were with this person. Why didn't you create 100 people? You could have created 100 people. So Chanakya said, see, I taught 100 people the same thing, but only Chandragupta Maurya had the burning desire to improve. Okay, so this is the reason why he is so successful and why I like him. So you have to have that burning desire to improve. So the next idea in BSP is S, which is single-mindedness. So what is this single-mindedness? Now I'm going to use a quotation from a very favorite person called Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee has given a quotation. Bruce Lee says, I don't fear the man who practices 10,000 kicks, but I fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times. Because that person would have mastered that kick, and when he uses it, I know I will lose. Okay, so to drive home this concept of S, which is single-mindedness. So 10,000 times, imagine if you are practicing the same kick, you will become such a great, a martial arts expert in that particular kick. So all of us have watched this movie called Sarpata Parampara, in which we see how the protagonist tries to build his body and how to practice. So Bruce Lee has given this kind of quotation where he says single-mindedness is absolutely important. And then P stands for perseverance. All this will not happen in one day, right? If you want to develop a muscle, you can't go to the gym for 1 week and then say, I went to the gym for 1 week, but then I was not able to develop my muscle at all. So I give up. So that should not be the case. Perseverance is very important. So B stands for burning desire to improve, S stands for single-mindedness, and P stands for perseverance. Here I'm giving you the example of Dashrath Manji, who is also called the mountain man. Now this is a real story. So this person, if you see, belongs to a very, a very small village, and then there was this mountain which was obstructing the village from the other side of the town. And he lost his wife because he had to cross the mountain, run through the mountain to the hospital on the other side, and he decided that he's going to break the mountain. So all of them would have laughed at him, right? So fortunately, it was not a huge mountain, it was just a hill. So what did Dashrath Manji do at his age? You can see that he started breaking the mountain with a hammer, a very small tool. But then he persevered. Lot of attention was given to this particular news item, and finally a road was constructed breaking the mountain. So here we know how important perseverance is. So B is the burning desire to improve. I told you the story of Chanakya. S is single-mindedness, which is the Bruce Lee's quotation which I mentioned, and P is a real-time example of Dashrath Manji. So if you want to learn anything, you have to stick to BSP. So tell people what you're going to tell them. I told you BSP that I'm going to talk about this. I got your attention, and then I told you what it stands for. I gave you the expansion with example. And when I gave you the example, I told you a folktale, right? We really don't know whether this was reality, whether Chandragupta Maurya, Kautilya, all these things we have learned in history. Some people still say that all this is mythology. Okay, so I told you a folk tale, a story which all of us like, right? We all love listening to stories. And when it comes to the second one, I told you a quotation. So a quotation can also be a very interesting way to get somebody's attention. And for P, I told you a real-time event. So this was my presentation. So students, what is your feedback on this? Will you remember my presentation, or do you think you will forget my slides and the ideas? So can you try and tell me now, what is the best way to learn anything? Okay. So when I ask this to my students, they become a little tensed and they say, yes, ma'am, we remember everything. So if you were going to give me some feedback about the slides that I just showed you, only for, the sample presentation, do you think it is an effective way to teach public speaking to our students, to tell them how to break the ideas? You can just put it in the chat box. You can also unmute and speak if you want. So this is one way in which I try to tell them how you can create a very impactful presentation. When you want to say something, say it with a quotation. When you want to say something, say it with a statistic. Okay, say it with some real-time thing. Yeah, so I can see how visual learning, pictorial representation, all these things come into play. So when we talk about presentation skills, we have to focus on these things. Now, we have come to the last part of the session. I know it is 11:04 now. I have 10 more minutes. So for the 10 minutes next, I have some 10 strategies for communication excellence. So we know that LSRW is something that we will focus on during the first semester and the second semester, or probably a little beyond that. But after that, we are talking about communication excellence for our learners. So we tell our learners, you are good at listening, speaking, reading, and writing. But how do you move from good to great for having good employability skills? See, we cannot teach our students digital literacy. We cannot teach our students other things, but we can definitely teach them communication skills, right? As English teachers, we can teach them communication skills. And how do we do that? We have to tell them what great communicators do. So we have this bias, this closeness communication bias, thinking that, oh, he is also a student from my university. What will he know? What is there to ask that person? Oh, I know this teacher. This teacher has been teaching in my college for a long time. I don't think she will know anything that I don't know. Oh, this webinar on employability skills. I have been teaching employability skills for a long time. What is there to enhance? Okay, so this is called closeness communication bias. This happens when our students are attending interviews. Okay, so when you are very close to a person, you think you know everything about the person. But we have to tell our students that what you know is definitely different from what others know. So they will have to listen actively, and they will also have to try and express what they know. Because sometimes our students think that, oh, all this concept everybody will know. Why should I talk about that concept, right? The second thing is know your audience when you have to target an audience. Like I told you, I will introduce myself differently in a food club. I will introduce myself differently in a trekking club. But this group is different, so I have to introduce myself in a different way. Knowing my audience and adding value to their time. Now, all of you are spending this 1 hour to listen to me. What value have I brought to you? Is there something that you can take to your own classrooms? Is there something that you can try and apply in your classrooms? That is the value that I'm trying to create for you, right? So everything you say should be tailored precisely to your audience. Sometimes when I do these mock interviews for my students, my students will say, I'm not interested in that, very low energy. So I tell them, see, imagine this is a mock interview. You will be getting a salary every month if you answer properly. Okay, so how do you tailor according to your audience? And there is always a need to connect emotionally. So that is why we tell stories. That is why we try and connect with people. So connecting emotionally is very important. Body language. We spoke about understanding our own emotions, strengths, right? Understanding our emotional triggers. So I always tell my students, people will forget what you said and what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. The moment somebody enters our cabin, what do we say? Please sit down, please have a seat. So how do you make them feel? Do you make them feel important? Or do you just think, oh, they are somebody else, what is there? So when you enter when you enter a place for your placement or for your interview, how are you supposed to behave? Okay, that is something very important. I tell them, see, doesn't matter. Just say, good morning, ma'am. So how's your day going? What was it like? Just talk to people. Because these days I see a lot of people, the moment they enter a place, they start looking at their mobile phones and they are in their own world. Okay, so that is very bad. They have to try and socialize with people. Listen so that you can talk. All of us are very eager to talk, but we don't want to listen, right? So when you listen, how do you listen? You have to look up at that person. You have to smile. You have to nod. And when somebody is speaking with you, don't answer questions with questions. Try to answer the question, then try to ask a question. So these are certain things I keep telling my students. You show positive body language. The way you smile, the way you make eye contact. I tell my students, when you are attending a virtual interview, don't look at that person and speak. Look at the camera lens and speak. Okay, show positive body language. First, you sit erect. Use your hands. That is absolutely important. So the way you use your hands, the way you position yourself. So I just show this picture and I tell my students, what do you infer from the body language? Can you say what is the relationship? So they understand a lot of things about body language. Because non-verbals, I believe, are as crucial as verbal communication, especially when it comes to employability. I also teach my students a lot of power poses. Like, you can try and watch Amy Cuddy's TED Talk if you're interested in power poses, how it has a very positive effect on human beings. Please practice sympathy. Not only sympathy, but also empathy. So what is this empathy? I talked to my students about this shift response and support response. Now, say, for example, at the end of the day, I tell my, I enter my home and I tell my son, oh, today was a very difficult day. I had all these things to do. Now, imagine my son is going to tell me, you know what, I also had all these online classes. It was very boring. There were so many tests. I had to study for all that. Now, that is called, a kind of a shift response. You're trying to shift your problem into the other person. But what would I expect? Oh, Ma, you're very tired. Why don't you sit down? Shall I make you a cup of coffee? Or did you eat? Why don't you rest? So we have to mirror their thoughts. That is called a support response. So I try and teach them. I tell them how these things are very important once when they enter a job or during their interviews. So don't make shift responses. Don't try to shift your responsibilities to somebody else, but try and support them. Ask more questions to that person. Are you tired? Would you like to have something? So definitely attitude is everything when it comes to employability. And now because of the pandemic, people's attitude towards life has changed, right? People's idea of longevity, people's idea of relationships, everything has changed. So even when you are entering the world of employment, you have to be very conscious of your attitude. I also tell my students, when you are communicating, get rid of your crutches. What are these crutches? See, many students, including myself, I also use some crutches when I speak. But when your communication is stopped or when your communication is affected by this kind of crutches, then you have to change it. So when you attend an interview, if you're going to say things like, a lot, then the person understands that you are not very comfortable articulating your ideas, right? Then the use of the Ford method. I say when you're meeting somebody new, when you're trying to talk to somebody, use the Ford method. What is this Ford method? Talk about family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, right? So all of us know about the importance of small talk. When you are doing this small talk, how important it is to connect with the other person. So talk about all these things. Human beings love talking. Okay. And the last one I tell them, which I think is the most important, is put away your distractions. Please, when you're trying to do a job, focus only on that if you are expecting something out of it. So multitasking is great, right? Women are multitaskers. You know what we do in the kitchen. We are multitasking. We are packing food, we are cooking food, we are serving food. Okay, we are also listening to the radio, we are doing so many things. We are attending phone calls. But when you are focusing on your employability skills, when you are attending an interview, when you are making a presentation, I tell my students, turn off all your notifications. When you are sharing your screen, see all the unwanted tabs are also open there. So basic things like that also we need to share and tell our students. So multitasking is great if you're alone, but it's terrible when you're having a conversation, which can be a professional conversation or it can be, some kind of an interview or a formal conversation. So that would be the end of my session. I hope I added some value. I hope I did my job properly today for 1 hour. So if there is any question, you can put it in the chat box, or if you had any new learning. This is something I learned very new today. If you have something like that, please put it in the chat box. What was one new learning that you had? Okay. So if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box. And if you have a kind of, one new learning, because that I will know. Okay, so Shrima says, students are not opting for the core streams like electric engineering, civil, mechanical, but opting for computer science because they feel taking CSE will be helpful. Why is this scenario existing now? Understanding that core disciplines are very important. Okay, So students have this general perception thinking that, computer science job will be very easy because coding is happening, all these things are happening. But somehow I'm not convinced that they are not interested in mechanical or electronics, because a lot of students are definitely interested. They want to know what is happening in those areas. They know well that when they're trying to solve a problem, right? When they're trying to solve a problem, that so many aspects has to be taken into account. So I think there is that awareness. They will have to try and understand what is happening around them, and then they will have to choose a very good idea. Okay. So Andrea, hello Andrea, how are you? So Andrea says she learned about VUCA, BSP, all these things.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, so BSP is just one technique, okay? You can't use BSP for everything. So this is one technique to tell our students, okay, today I'm going to make a presentation. Listen to my speech. If you don't want to fall asleep, you have to keep them hooked. Okay, Ford, okay. So Joseph Luke Raja. So can you see how the human mind is attracted to these acronyms? Our human mind is attracted to acronyms, to pictures, all these things, okay? Okay, Suresh GS says they have big trouble learning the writing skills. One good suggestion to master it. Okay, so writing is the next big thing, right? All this content that they are reading in all the websites, all that somebody is writing. Okay, so when it comes to writing skills, especially with reference to employability, I teach my students visual resumes. So a resume which has a lot of infographics in it, okay, which has a lot of information in the form of pictures in it. So we have to introduce them to very new kind of writing skills. Okay. I know that I did not answer your question fully, Suresh, but then as teachers, I know what works well for our classes. Okay, great. So there are also some other aspects of feedback coming. Yes, Malti Sharma, I think this is very important. We have to review our own communication methods. That is absolutely important, right? When we are teaching presentation skills, we have to make a presentation and show it to our students. That is what I usually do. I, tell them, see, this is how my presentation will look. But my students also give me a lot of feedback. They tell me, no, ma'am, this did not work well. We slept during these slides. Okay. Yeah. So Gunasundari says, I love the point that we should not just make the students remember what we taught, but we should make them remember how we made them to feel. Yes, that's absolutely important. Because students love people like Bruce Lee, they love real life examples. So we should use all those things in our presentation also. So somebody has raised a hand. Namni Thugen, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Do you have anything to say? Suresh says, very creative and pleasant. Thank you. So we have to be like that for our students, Suresh. That's very important. I'm glad you all attended. Oh my God, one of my teachers.
Shobha ma'am, Chelamal ma'am has posted one.
I know, I'm just
Compliment for
looking
you,
at
yeah.
it. Chelamal ma'am, you say, I enjoyed listening to your presentation. Thanks, Shobha. Oh, that's really an honor. So Chelamal ma'am is the former head of the department of Anna University. Ma'am, you have unmuted. You want to say something?
No, yes, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much. Great report.
Thanks a lot for being there, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So over to the organizers now. I'll stop presenting my screen.
Thank you, ma'am, for enhancing us to improving employability skill. The quotation you said, people will forget what you said and did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That's what really this sentence suits you a lot, ma'am. Really. We will never forget this, and you made us to improve our skill, and you made us to feel that we are all entrepreneurs. Yeah, and think that this session is burning in us to inculcate a desire to improve our skills with single-minded, with a great perseverance, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you. Then, so have a very informative and intellectual day ahead. I'm also planning to attend a few of the sessions.
Hello, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning.
வாழ்க வளமுடன். And it was a scintillating presentation, and thank you so much for taking time off and joining us. It was fabulous indeed listening to you after a long time, and so very grateful to you for gracing this occasion with your presence, and wonderful it was listening to you. Thank you, ma'am.
Don't be so formal, Saravanan sir.
No, then again, no, convey my regards to your family members also. Yeah, I miss them a lot.
It's a long time frame.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'll
Thank
close
you.
I will leave the session now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am. It was an excellent session, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Venkateshwara sir.
Yes, Saravanan.
Sir, you started the session bit early, I believe, right?
Yeah, no, Saravanan. Second day, the session starts at 10 a.m. We started sharp 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Okay. But no, it was really wonderful. Yeah, I joined at the beginning itself. Nice.
Yes, Saravanan. I thank all the participants who participated today. I kindly request you to wait for some time. We'll have a break till 11:40. The actual speaker is busy with the minister program. He has consented to be here by 11:40. He'll join us positively. So let us take a break till 11:40. We'll start the session sharp 11:40. We are starting the session 10 minutes late. I request you all to stay with us. We'll start the session sharp by 11:40. Thank you, participants.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Venkatesh,
ma'am.
sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yeah, good morning. This is Shanda Devi from CIT Coimbatore, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining, ma'am, in spite of your busy schedule, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
We have people from all over the world who have joined us today. I thank all the participants wholeheartedly for joining this session. It will be fruitful to you. We assure you that the session, the whole day is going to be fruitful with a lot of takeaways at the end of the session. Thank you all. Thank you all for staying with us. We'll start by sharp 11:40 Indian IST. Thank you. Sir, good morning, sir. Sir, good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us in spite of your busy schedule, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Sir, you are not audible, sir.
You have to unmute, sir. Please unmute and speak, sir.
Please unmute.
You're muted.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Now you're audible,
Thanks
sir.
a lot for joining,
Good morning. Yeah.
So shall we start, sir? Sir, shall we start, sir?
Yes, of course.
I kindly request Manasa ma'am to begin.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. It's indeed a pleasure to introduce our speaker for the day, for the next session. He is Dr. M. Ilankumaran, sir. He is the principal of Geeta Jeevan Arts and Science College, Thoothukudi. Dr. M. Ilankumaran has completed his MPhil and PhD with specialization in English language teaching, and he has been the conveyor for 5 national conferences. Sir has also presided number of the number of guest speakers in various occasions. He's been a keynote speaker and also a resource speaker in various conferences and academic events. Sir is specialized in applied linguistics
that I would like to discuss, and of course I would like to concentrate more on the techniques. As English teachers, actually, we have to face a lot of hurdles in the name of curriculum and the systematic way of, a systematic way of the education, which is not similarly found in all the places. All these things are the hurdles, but despite all these hurdles, we have to do something for the betterment of our younger generation, and that too, those people who aspire to learn something in the name of English. How are we going to make them successful? That's the point. And before that, actually, I would like to tell you that I have categorically organized my talk into 5 different aspects. First of all, language learning and teaching, then prospects of learning English as a language, challenges in teaching English as a language, and the last one, devising techniques to overcome the challenge. As teachers, we can devise so many techniques depending upon the locality, depending upon the student's background, or the so many criteria are there. But still, actually, I'm going to share with you all one technique that I have devised for you all. That is that can be a model on which we can build a lot of things. But before that, actually, it's better we can start with the backdrop of English language, because definitely, I should say that it would not be fine if I forgot to mention something about English language. How it has traversed all through the years, and now we are in a stage where we madly need that language for global communication. For that matter, let's go back to the origin of English language first, before I deal with the language. Then let's move step by step. Now let me go for my PPT presentation. Is it visible to you all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you, Thank you. So, yes. So first of all, this is the title on which we are going to spend some time on it. Okay, developing techniques to overcome challenges. First of all, some people may wonder now what kind of techniques we can adapt inside the classrooms, because the classrooms are always in a tight corner, that we have to do certain things within the limitations meted out to us. But then, actually, the challenges are always there. Now, each and every teacher faces a lot of challenges. But devising techniques may be the new thing. But once you just go through my presentation, you will be tempted to use yet another technique that you will find. You will be tempted to use a technique that you would like to create, and it can be used in the classrooms. That's the point behind. First of all, let me go to the backdrop of the English language. English language, as we know, that it's an Indo-European language in the West Germanic language group. It's an origin, and that language has been considered to be the lingua franca of the world. That means it has been widely used. It is in almost all the languages in the world. Now, English is being used by all. Standard language in a wide variety of fields, including computer coding, international business, and higher education. No field is there without using the language English. Thus, English has developed itself for more than 1,400 years. And of course, I should point out here that English is the youngest language ever in the world, and it has been described as the most beautiful language. It has been used by so many people across the world. Then let's move to modern English. By the late 18th century, the British Empire had spread English to its colonies and the geographical dominance. And as you know that British Empire had almost conquered all the parts of the world, and they started ruling across the borders of all the countries, claiming that actually the sun never sets on our empire. That's the point. And the second point I will is explicit norms for standard usage were published and spread through official media such as public education and the state-sponsored publication. Here I must say that once English has been spread by so many factors, just by colonizing the countries or the missionaries, okay, but actually how it expose itself to the people across the boundaries of the countries means that is the special thing about English, that it has to be pointed out. Then there's some milestones in the development it has crossed.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Samuel Johnson, who is shortly known as Dr. Johnson, published the Dictionary of the English Language.
So excuse me, sir. Sir, I'm Dolphin. Sir, can you hear me?
And of course, he is a very good novelist, writer, and he has occupied almost all the roles and very good lexicographer as well. And he, from British, founded this thing, and he came out with a dictionary that was the first dictionary in English. And in 1828, exactly after 75 years, no Webster, he is an American lexicographer, and he is a spelling reformer as well in America. Published an American Dictionary of English Language to try to establish a norm for speaking and writing American English that was independent of the British standard. As we know that the American people always stand against whatever systems are found and framed by the British people, in such a way that actually, just in contrast with the dictionary created by Samuel Johnson in 1755, Noel Webster, he came out with an American dictionary with a different spelling, different contextual meanings and other things. The language is spoken over 40 crore people nowadays, and this data is about the current one. The language is spoken by over 40 crore people as mother tongue, and over 200 crore people as second language or foreign language. Within a short span of time, it has crossed to almost all the data, prevailed upon by so many countries and their people. Now, let me come to the speaking skill. Actually, speaking skills is the basic thing what we need just to make ourselves very well in the field where we are and to survive. And this is one of the.
Sir, sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sorry to interrupt.
The people concentrate more on speaking skills. So why? That's the point. And
Sir?
it's one of the productive skills because unless you listen to so many things, we cannot speak. This is the general opinion. We must keep our ears always open to listen to so many things if you want to speak certain things. Otherwise, your speaking will not be listened to by anyone. That this is something, this skill is something which enables us to communicate effectively because, say, of course, if I want to say something to somebody else, then I must say something by opening my mouth. That is called speaking skills. And for that matter, here out of LSRW, yes, is a major thing. Communication. How do we define the term communication? Of course, your meaning is created and recreated in speech or in conversation with others. Yeah, created and recreated means, of course, it's coding and decoding, rotation and interpretation. Everything is there. See, once I get a source from some place, some book, or some people, then I just want to say it to other, I can use my own terms. It's called recreation. That's already written is created, and if I want to say it in my own words, I recreate it without damaging the concept of it. It's called communication. So, of course, communication is a major aspect for which we have to deal with so many things. Next comes oral communication versus verbal communication. Of course, the two things are communication, but how can we define oral communication? Oral communication, as we know, that it's speaking through mouth. Communication here means I strongly say that I am dealing with only the oral communication. So the communication means speaking, not about the written aspect. Okay. Then verbal communication means expression of ideas using words either in spoken form or written form. First of all, I would like to make it very clear that communication means expression of ideas. But how do we do it? Either using our mouth, the vocal cords, or by using the words or other things. These are the difference between oral communication and verbal communication.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. Your voice is not audible, sir. Ilan sir. Sir, are we audible? Sir, your voice is not audible. Please.
Language matters a lot as it constitutes everything between us and the world. Literally, it means tongue. The human organ used for speaking. That's what we call it the mother tongue. Because language can be spoken only with the help of our tongue. just imagine if a person who is not able to speak out language cannot be spoken, and it's, the purpose of speaking language is not fulfilled. It's a system of arbitrary vocal symbols by which thoughts are communicated from one to another. The OCD will be, it's the author who says it, it's a system of arbitrary vocal symbols by which thoughts are communicated from one to another. And of course, say, I want to say something means the ideas are transferred from one person to another person. That is called communication, and the medium is called language. The medium, here we have to concentrate more on language.
Excuse me, sir.
Basic aspect. So we, as we are the human beings, we have the capability of understanding.
Excuse me. Excuse me. I think
Sir,
your voice is not so clear. Please check your.
Can you use your
mic,
headphones?
Please. Yeah. Use your. Yeah. No. Please keep it closer to your mouth so that it will be much more clear. Please.
Sir, I have dolphin, sir.
Now is it audible?
No, a bit more clarity is needed.
Okay.
Just a minute. It's like echoing. Your voice is a bit of echo. It's a push.
I'm in an easy room, but okay, ma'am. Actually, shall we proceed?
Mic closes a little bit closer, please.
Yeah. Your mic closer. You can keep your mic closer, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, please try it. Please keep your mic closer.
Now, how is it, ma'am?
A bit more closer.
Now is it audible?
Yeah, better. Now it's better.
Okay. So
Yes.
language learning is a basic thing, Actually, as human beings, we have to use.
Now still your voice. I think it's not so clear. It's rumbling.
How is my voice now, ma'am? Is it audible?
It's a bit better, but not so clear.
Wait. Can I try my level best?
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I think there is a problem with the device, maybe. So could you connect with some other device?
Participants, we kindly regret for the technical glitches. It will be solved shortly. Sir will be joining us immediately. Stay connected. We'll start shortly. Sarah joined with us. We'll start shortly.
Sir, is it audible?
Yes, sir. Clear now, sir. No problem, sir.
Now, have I become audible to you all?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's very clear now, sir. No problem, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I'm so sorry for the inconvenience, sir.
No problem, sir. No problem, sir. It happens in the online meeting, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. We can start, sir.
Am I correct, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible, sir. It's very clear now, sir.
Yes. Okay. Let me continue. So, regarding language learning, human beings, so we or the people alone have the capability or ability to learn, understand, and think about things and matters. And we can gain and use knowledge just because of language. And we can explore situations. Lastly, collect information, and that information can be planned and it can be executed. So these are the things which we can do by learning a language. Then prospects of teaching English as a language. Of course, we know that actually English language has so many prospects. And I have given you only a few things. As the number one, it's a global language. It's a provoking intercultural communication with other countries, international transactions that includes trade and commerce for economic growth, science and technology, and plus higher studies. So nothing can be left out without using language, particularly English language. Now, the important thing that we are moving to, challenges in teaching English as a language. And of course, I would like to tell you one thing, that challenges should always be there with us. Otherwise, actually, there is no purpose of living. Here in English language teaching, challenges are there. But those challenges are neither frustrating nor insurmountable. It can be always there, and we have to find out the ways how to move out of those challenges. Teaching without challenges is dull, monotonous, and unproductive. So there should be always challenges, and we have to lead our life one day with the challenges. It will be fruitful. Challenges in a general perspective. I mean, these are the things that we find in our existing classrooms nowadays. A large number of heterogeneous students, learners in the classroom, lack of qualified and experienced teachers. I have given the word qualified in italics, which means some people may argue with me that what do you mean by qualified? We are always qualified, no. Which means qualified in the sense that it's not the general qualifications. I'm talking about certain qualifications prescribed by the British Council, like CELTA and other courses are there. Those people always claim that they are the eligible and the qualified people to teach English as a language, and I mean that qualification. Lack of language laboratories, and I think I'm talking about the general perspectives, and actually I'm not talking anything particularly. Inadequate use of teaching materials, lack of conducive environment, and lack of motivation. These are the general perspectives. Here we have materials, but those materials are inadequate in nature. And the conducive environment in the sense that actually we have to teach students, and we have to keep the students in a place where we have to do. And we cannot go for the exact place where they need or where the language needs. This is a problem. And of course, motivation is a general thing that we always say. I mean, motivation means the teacher can motivate students, but in what way that motivation is given, that's the point. So now, problems in teaching English. The first one is psychological problems. As we know, psychological problems, I'm talking about the problems from the teacher's perspective. Then teaching methods. Most of the teachers, they still follow the translation method and mother tongue influence, which are always called as the MTI. That's largely found in the Indian scenario. Lack of interest, lack of practice, lack of motivation, committing mistakes that become habitual ones. Here, I would like to make a point that the teachers, it doesn't mean that the teachers always commit mistakes and they are teaching with errors and mistakes. It's not like that. But they reproduce whatever things they learned from their own teachers. And of course, if you just go into the deeper side of the origin of their language acquisition, we have to find a fault with the teachers who taught them in the past. That's the thing. So once they learn something from the teachers, they keep it with themselves and they continue teaching that thing without knowing the things whether they are right or wrong. This is a problem. And the last point is very much general point. It's a crowded classroom, sir. Actually, in foreign countries, one teacher has to face only 15 to 20 students to the maximum. But in Indian classrooms, sometimes I learned that it crosses 60, 65 in a classroom. And all those students must be kept in a classroom where a single teacher has to face everybody. This is a point. And what could be the possible solutions to the problems? The thing. What could be the possible solutions? Say solutions are always there, but we must be ready to take out the solutions to solve the problems. First of all, building a rapport with the students. The students are always students. In English, there is a saying called the boys are boys. Just like that, the students are always students. Actually, they are at the age group where they want to do a lot of things without minding whom are the teachers in the education institutions. But it's a teacher's duty to have a rapport with the students. Sometimes you may ask me, how do we have the rapport with the students? Rapport in the sense that we should know the weaknesses and the strengths of the students, and we should know the personal things about the students, so that the real things can be known to the teachers, so that the teacher can easily reach the students. Then applying different methods. To be frank, with you all, out of my experience, I'm telling you, most of the teachers are using only one method that they follow for a number of years, and it should be changed, because teachers, particularly language teachers, they should come out with different methods to the different occasions, to different students, and instilling confidence in the minds of students. Of course, confidence is the basic thing. A student who has the confidence in his mind can speak a lot of things, but if he loses that, definitely even if he wants to, he cannot, because he has lost his confidence. Then making him think in English, this is the typical one. And because first of all, before we make the students think in English, it is our duty as teachers. We should think the basic things in English first. And let us discuss how to do and what to do for that. And handling mistakes with the care and making students communicative. How to handle mistakes? Definitely, in a classroom where a teacher is teaching, in a classroom where 60 students or more are there, definitely mistakes will be committed by the students, because the students means they should commit mistakes. Otherwise, there is no use in teaching. But how to handle the mistakes? It should be pointed out in a gentle and subtle way, that the students should always take it in a positive way. They should clearly understand that, and with the corrections made, they should proceed with it. And they should never commit that mistakes. That is a most important thing. And the last one, most importantly, devising new techniques. This is the point where I have to concentrate more on techniques. How to devise new techniques. Here I am going for an example. So many techniques are there for English language teaching, but let me take one technique that is called TIP. You might have heard about the word TIP, but here it's an acronym that stands for think, imitate, and practice. First of all, let me go to the first word, think. Regarding think, while think is a word, it is in the verbal form. Actually, thoughts are there. Each and every human being is having thoughts, because we have the thinking process. We have the brain system where thought processing is always working. Thoughts are always there. It is, the thoughts are called as mental representation. Actually, we individually we have thoughts, and those thoughts are the personal things. We can do a lot of things with our thoughts. I can think of anything, because as you know that the thoughts are the fastest things in the world. We can think of anything. By being in Thoothukudi, I can think of you all who may be in different places. But those thoughts are highly personal and private. I can keep my thoughts with myself. But once I come out of that thoughts in the form of communication or spoken form, then it becomes public, and there starts the risk. So that normally people say, when you express, you have to be careful. When you speak out words, you have to be careful, because once you deliver the words, you cannot be the owner of the words. You cannot be owner of your thought processing. So that's why people say that think before you speak. We have to think before we speak, because of words, they matter a lot of things. Regarding the process of thinking, I should say that first of all, ideas are born in thinking process. There should be ideas, always. Without ideas, no one can speak. George Bernard Shaw says that ideas should be created in mind first, otherwise you cannot speak even a single word. And regarding thinking process, one more point I would like to make. When you speak, you must have an idea. That idea in mind is called theater of mind. When somebody speaks to me, if I get the point, the theater of my mind will start functioning, I will get the word. That's why whenever I know something and I get the point, my face is revealing something, as a face is index of mind. The face becomes brightened because I got the point. I'm ready to reply because I got the idea. So when ideas are born out of thinking process, once the ideas are there, then we are there to speak. Then those ideas are fueled by repeated consumption of matters like reading books, watching TV programs, having interaction with others. Of course, those ideas means a single idea cannot be the whole thing, It should be communicated properly, and we have to bring up that ideas very well with the support of the other ideas that we get from other things. Then regurgitating what is consumed by speaking, writing, displaying, etc. Regurgitating means just like repeating whatever I just get through certain things. I have to use it, reproduce the words. In a local sense, people say that actually they study a lot of things and they say they would like to vomit at the time of examination. It is a way of ruminating. Once I get the points, then whenever I sit free and in a leisurely manner, I think of those things I learned, I studied. This is called regurgitating. And of course, it can be by speaking, writing, displaying, etc. Thinking macro of what is consumed. Of course, I got a point. Now, what can I do with the point gathered? I have to think big so that I can do something. In the research work, that is what is done, Getting somebody's idea from somebody's concept. Actually, I'll think of it, I'll simply modify it, and I'll try to do something better than that in the form of research review or other things. That's the point. Then ideas should be used to the maximum. Once ideas should be magnified in a very good quantum. Then expressing and explaining spontaneously. And the ideas should be expressed, as I told you that the words should be spoken carefully, but at the same time, if it is not spoken, there is no use of it. So there must be a speaking process, but it should be spontaneous way and in a clear and careful way. Asking questions to expand ideas. If I get struck with certain things, I should always ask questions in the name of clearing doubts. That is a major point. So by this process of thinking, we can develop our thinking process very well. First of all, if just think of a word, that word is known to you or unknown to you, that means everybody's mind is a big screen. A white screen is always there in everybody's mind. If you hear about a particular word, then the image of the particular thing will be there on the screen. Then the idea is formed. Then you can think of that. If somebody says anything, we can just match the points, whether it is contra or for the point. So these are the things. But the idea should always be there. This is first point. So thinking process should always be there. Without thinking, nothing can be done. So this is first one. Then imitation. Of course, most of us do it unconsciously, right from the childhood days. If a child is born in a family, the child starts speaking the language spoken by the parents. How? Because of imitation. The child doesn't know that it is imitating the language spoken by the parents, but still it imitates it because this is the proper way of acquiring the language. But once we grow up, get the age of our maturity or the consciousness, a kind of inhibition or shyness is there always in our mind that pulls up negatively from this type of things. That is the point. Why the first language can be acquired very easily. Why the second language is facing a lot of troublesome problems. Because the language is actually the second language is acquired only when a child becomes grown up and the child is becoming matured. That time actually there are so many external factors that come in and that becomes a negative force to pull negatively. So the imitation is not properly working, but it has to work. That's why we have to have the tendency of the children, even when we grow up. The imitation means actually it's a tendency and dramatic, and dramatic in the sense that once we happen to see a film or a drama, and if you want to reproduce the act, it's called dramatic. Idealistic means actually if we get an idea from somebody's mouth or from somebody's interview, and if I want to reproduce that idea from my perspective, from my views, it's called idealistic. This is the difference between the two. Then process of imitating. How? Actually, imitation means in the sense it's not copy. First of all, I must tell you, transforming ideas. The image, as I told you, that in the thinking process, the image is there. That image should be expressed in what way? As you know that when we are in school, we had so many teachers who taught us, but not all the teachers are there in the mind, you know. In everybody's mind, there is a throne kept in the heart of all the students. But not all the teachers happen to sit on the throne because so we give it to some teachers because those teachers are the inspiring figures or inspiring teachers. This type of teachers should always be there. So that teacher will come. That teacher will come to our mind and will try to copy them, the body language, the manners, and other things. Everything that we copied from the teacher at the time of sitting in front of him in the classroom will come out in the name of language expression. That's the first thing. Knowing the fact that imitation is different from automatic copying, it doesn't mean that it's like doing mimicry or any other thing. It's rather different. It's potential transformative mechanism, which is applied unconsciously, like child to parent the first language acquisition. Of course, the second language should always be learned in such a way that the first language was acquired when we were children. Avoiding consciousness leading to shyness, inhibition, etc. The second language, these are the affective concerns in my point. This type of shyness and inhibitions of the affective concerns always, actually for any language, if you sit in front of a teacher who is teaching not to you as a only person, in a classroom where you are one among the students, will have this type of shyness and inhibition because we have the tendency, we have the feeling that I'm not the only person here. I'm being closely watched by so many. If I do certain things, you know, if I commit mistakes, will be closely watched by people and they laugh at me when I go out of the classroom, or they will criticize me when they happen to meet me after that. These are the problems. So it should be avoided. And activities are much needed as a pronunciation, intonation, and stress and pause can be practiced. To be frank, this is an important point in imitating. Say, once you listen to the great speakers, see, you can copy a lot of things. You know, you can get yourself inspired by their pronunciation, intonation, the way and the manner they speak, the stress and pause they do it. These are the things, you know. So I would like to tell you a lot of things. You know, of course, in English, instead of the teachers who are teaching inside the classroom, when you watch TV programs, so many people, the on-screen people, just like Prannoy Roy of NDTV, or some people actually who spend much of their time in either UK or USA. They are very good at their pronunciation intonation. But if you watch them, we can definitely get ourselves inspired by the way they speak and will be motivated or tempted to do the things, you know. And of course, in India, Shashi Tharoor actually speaks in a way that the accent is completely different. Though he was in America, his accent is highly British. That's still it's a thing of appreciation. He always says that though he spent 27 years in America, he never compromises himself with the pronunciation of British. Some point. So these are the points where we can get ourselves motivated and we imitate those people. And the last one, practice. Practice, of course, you know, practice makes a man perfect. Say, the act, any act or method of following something regularly and usually, that's a practice. In fact, actually, regarding practice, I should say something, you know, of course, any student of at the age of 18 or 19 can ride a motorbike. But think of the first day when he took off the motorbike, you know, first day he was shivering, sweating to the core, and he did not know what to do when the bike is taken. And of course, he'll be advised by so many people what to do and what not to do. In the first 1 week or 10 days, it's a hurdle for him. But after 3 months or 4 months, in the due course of time, after he learned the techniques of riding a motorbike, it becomes so easy and he does everything unconsciously. He simply takes a bike without knowing the fact that he is taking the bike, and he sits on that, and of course he does everything. This is because of practice. So once you get yourself practice, that's why actually we get ourselves practice, you know. On waking up in the early morning, we go to and we brush ourselves, you know. Actually, we never use our left hand if you are the right-handed person for brushing, because it's a practice. So practice is act or method of following something regularly and usually. Repeating of an activity to improve a skill. This is practice means repetition. That's why I could still remember the days when I was a student in the school. I mean, actually, the imposition. Actually, I thought that imposition is the punishment. Later, I came to know that imposition is a kind of a practice. Actually, those words that we wrote in the name of imposition, we never forgot that. Okay. Then making something a customary action, habit, or behavior. These are the points of a practice and the process of practice. First of all, the task should be focused. Without focusing a task, a practice will never succeed. Then the practice should be done slowly and consciously, like walking and swimming. Just to think of a toddler, a child becomes a toddler at the age of 1.5. It tries to stand up, tries to walk, it falls, and it just holds a wall for grip. But after that, it forgets the wall. It forgets the action of its standing up. It stands straight and just moves towards a particular point. Okay, that's the point. First of all, it does everything consciously. Even for swimming also, when you find water in front of you, you'll get into the water consciously because you have to take care of everything. But once you become a swimmer, you'll forget that. So that is the next point, making it customarily and habitually. You have to make it customarily means it should be a custom of you, a habit of you, so that you will never think that you are doing that particular one. Doing it professionally and enjoyably. The first, second word is more important. You have to do something enjoyably. Then making it a continuous process. Practice in the sense that I have seen some students who come to me, sir, I want to learn something spoken English because last week I appeared on an interview where I was rejected just because of lacking of English knowledge. So I want to learn something in English. But those interests will go away within 2-3 weeks. After that, they'll become normal. It's not like that. The practice means once it's started, it should be a continuous one. That's why it is called the process. There is a difference between product and process. Product is a finished product. Once the studies are called as product. Once you complete MA, once you are awarded degree, it becomes a product. But learning is always a process. We should never give a full stop to that. So it should be a process. And last point, getting it done unconsciously, like eating, sleeping, etc. First of all, we have to start everything consciously, and after that, we have to make it unconsciously. I mean that you must do all the things without knowing the fact that you are doing all the things. So these are all the main points of practicing. So first of all, we have to think. We have to think in terms, and we have to imitate the personalities. Then we have to practice. These 3 things are very much important. That makes a person a language speaker. But one thing, you may ask me at the end of this session, sir, once these things are done, definitely can a person become a speaker? Now, I tell you, practice in the sense that on hearing a particular thing on one occasion, it doesn't mean a practice. Practice means the idea should be gathered, the idea should be put into the mind, and we have to work hard. And then it should be in the name of practicing. Definitely it will yield a very good result. That's a point. And the final touch of all the things, we have brains, human beings are having brains. Those brains are always ready to learn anything, anytime. But we have to make it purposeful to do that. And just like that, mouths and ears are always functional. But we should know how to use and how to train them properly. Once all these things are trained and used properly, we'll become language learners and we'll become language speakers. I hope that everyone will start as a language learner and end up with a language speaker. This is a point I would like to tell you. With that, thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We thoroughly enjoyed your presentation, sir. It was an excellent presentation. I now request the participants, you can unmute and you can just clarify your doubts, or you can compliment, or you can add on, you can deliberate. Over to you, participants.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, thank you very much. A very informative session, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the break in between.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Sir, am I audible?
Sir, you're audible, sir. Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Now I think I become audible.
Okay, sir. Sir, this is Suresh. Sir, you spoke about devising techniques, sir. My concern is writing skills, sir. Could you please offer me one suggestion to enhance writing skills, sir?
Definitely, I think I'm audible to you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No,
Thank you.
this is one of the techniques we follow, and of course, actually, I have to come out with a lot of techniques that can be followed. But as of now, I can tell you. But I think I'll give you my email ID. Definitely, I'll share so many techniques that I have devised because I have written so many papers on that. I'll definitely discuss with you. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please share your email ID, sir. Thank you.
Sure, definitely.
May I also have your phone number, sir, so that I can interact with you?
Yeah, actually, take my email ID, mikumaran@yahoo.com. 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 43482 904.
Yes, sir. Got it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Definitely, I will be in contact with you and sharing a lot of things with you all.
Thank you so much, sir.
9443482904. Okay, and my email ID mikumaran@yahoo.com. mikumaran yahoo.com 9443482904. I given my email ID and the phone number.
Sir, we'll also share it, sir. We'll share the ID and your phone number.
Okay,
No
okay.
problem.
Actually, excuse me. I think am I talking to the organizers?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're talking to the organizer.
Yeah,
Yes,
excuse me. I mean, the ministry is just standing out of my room.
Yes, sir. I understand, sir. You can go get, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for joining, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Busy
Okay,
schedule.
okay.
You joined us, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm Dolphin, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
So thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dear participants, we now break for lunch. It's 12:30 sharp now. We'll start the program by 1 o'clock. We have with us Dr. Kartika ma'am from NIT Trichy for the last session of the day. We'll start by 1 o'clock sharp. Thank you, participants. Let us break for lunch.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Okay.
sir. Thank you. Thank you, Santana.
Thank you, sir. Sir, a
Yes,
small
ma'am.
doubt, Venkatesh, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So yesterday, we don't know about this session, sir, because we have not received that. Yesterday night only we have received the session link, sir. So what
Session-
about the yesterday session, sir?
It is there in the YouTube, ma'am. It is live there. You can very well watch, ma'am. I'll send you the link. It will not be a problem.
Oh.
I'll post the link. You can watch the program, whatever you missed, live,
Okay.
ma'am. No problem, ma'am. No problem.
Okay,
It is
thank you,
there,
sir.
ma'am. You
Then
can
what
release,
about the
ma'am.
feedback link, sir? Yesterday you sent feedback link, no, sir?
Ma'am, at the end of the program, we'll be pressing it. Ma'am, at the end of all three sessions, we'll be posting the feedback link, ma'am. You can just fill in now.
Today's session, okay, sir. What about the yesterday session, sir?
Yesterday's session, you'll not have any problem, ma'am. You just send me a message to my WhatsApp number.
Okay.
I'll
Okay,
send
sir.
you the link, ma'am. It's not a problem.
Because three people registered for my institution.
I understand.
but
I
no
understand.
one
It's not an
received.
issue. Not an issue, ma'am.
Okay,
I'll
sir.
leave my number here. Send a
Yeah.
message. Ping me a message. I'll revert you back, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot for joining, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. We break for lunch. We'll meet at shop 1 o'clock. Thank you all. Thank you, participants.
பேசுங்கண்ணா.
ஜாயின் பண்ணணும்ல சார் நான்
அண்ணா, கொடுக்கணுமா?
ரெடியா இல்லை சார் சார்
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Am I audible to you?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
Okay.
Shall we start by 1 o'clock, ma'am? Start.
Yeah, we can. I'm here. Just let me know when it is time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We'll start by 1 o'clock now.
Yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Shall we start, ma'am?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, ma'am. I kindly request Mr. Dolphin to introduce the speaker of the session. Over to you, Mr. Dolphin.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and everyone who has gathered here. And I'm very much pleased to introduce today's speaker, Dr. V.K. Karthika, who is an assistant professor of English in the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences at the National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli. Having awarded the prestigious Steltley and Lupton Scholarship, she earned her master's degree in TESOL studies from the University of Leeds, England, after a master in English and comparative literature with first rank and gold medal from Pondicherry Central University. She worked in England as an SOL instructor and assessor for SOL examinations from 2009 to 2011 and conducted studies related to language acquisition, cultural adaptation, and professional needs of English instructors. During the 4 years she spent in England as a student and a teacher, she gained insights into the challenges encountered by language learners and the potential remedies that resolve them, and polished her understanding of a multicultural, multilingual, and multi-ethnic learning and teaching scenario. She obtained her doctorate in English language education from the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, India. She has published papers in journals of national and international repute. Her teaching philosophy is deeply rooted in her belief that education must be an agent of transformation, by enabling its stakeholders to activate social and emotional learning, thus building a better humanity. Ma'am, we are very grateful that you are here and that you're So over to Dr. Kartika.
Thank you. I hope I'm clear.
You're audible, ma'am. You're audible, ma'am. It's very clear, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Thank you, Venkatesh sir, for inviting me for this program. And I'm glad to meet you all. A few things before we actually start the session. Usually, when I start presenting in Google Meet, it doesn't open as the full screen. So you may be able to see only those shorter versions of the slides, but doesn't really matter. I can send it to Dr. Venkatesh. He can share it with you if anybody wants the slides. So nobody should be indulged in taking screenshots. I'll be sending the slides, and if there is any material, I'll send that too after the session.
Yes, ma'am. We will share, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So in case of any technical glitches, I'll be joining back. That too, I would like to tell you now before we actually begin the session. Yes, I'm going to share the slides and I hope it works. There you go. Yeah. So today I'll be talking about questioning strategies for English language classrooms. I actually planned it in a little different way, but then considering the kind of restrictions we have in terms of interaction, I restricted it quite a bit. Let's see how it goes. Everybody knows the questioning strategies. Everybody knows that there are global questions, there are local questions, there are inferential questions. There are several types of questions, open-ended questions, close-ended questions, and all. What I would like to drag your attention into is the purpose of these questioning tasks. Every teacher is into a classroom where there is a lot of dynamic situations and we ask questions on a regular basis. It could be something very personal, like why are you late? That is a classroom management question. From there to the subject level, deeper level questions, we are all comfortable asking it. But to be very frank, if you have been to different PhD Viva, this is one favorite anecdotes of mine. If anybody has been to my some other sessions, they'll notice this. When you are into a PhD Viva of a good university or where there is good academic practices being done, if you are there, then you will notice that there are so many questions which are just for the sake of questioning. There is nothing, no cognitive load in those questions. It's just that maybe perhaps it's like forced kind of questions. There is nobody to ask a question, therefore one question is being asked, and what is the purpose of it? Nobody has any idea about it. There are questions like that, and you think about your own classroom. And while I take you through these slides and these ideas of mine and what I collected from elsewhere too, you need to think about yourself as a teacher in a classroom. And if there are any learners or any scholars, you can imagine yourself as potential learners or potential teachers in a classroom, whatever level, be it from primary level to tertiary level, wherever you teach. Imagine yourself in that classroom and you being placed in front of the students and then asking questions. What type of questions do you now ask, and what kind of questions are you supposed to ask? Not supposed to in a wrong sense, but what are the better questions that one can ask? And I always stress on this questioning thing when it comes to self-interrogation or introspection, as you can call it. We need to critically question ourselves as well, as a person, as an academician, as a researcher. We should actually question ourselves on a regular basis. So this was just the introduction, and I think I have deceptively told you about my plan today. So at the end of the session, I would be really glad and grateful to each of you if you can rethink the questions that you are presently using in your classroom and the questions that you ask yourself ask yourself when you do this introspection bit. Everybody does introspection, there is no doubt in that, but what kind of questions do you ask yourself? Are they always constructive, or are you Are you on a way of distracting yourself? We need to really think about it. So demolition questions should be avoided. And at the end of the session, I would be really appreciating it if you can think about higher level questions where your cognitivity is challenged and where you go more and more meta about your own thinking. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the next one. So this is the overview of today's session, and I hope I'll be able to finish it in time. Teaching, learning, and assessments, we'll just quickly go through, because questions, we usually use it for assessment purpose. And how teaching, learning, and assessments are connected, I'll quickly take you through. And then types of different assessments and Socratic questioning. This is a recent thing that, not recent thing, but this is something that I recently started experimenting with. Various types of Socratic questioning in classroom. And I thought that I should share my experience of using this in my classroom so that many of you will get benefited. Bloom's taxonomy, which you already know, but we'll just revisit it in terms of this questioning pattern, and then a bit of hands-on practice on something. So don't worry, I won't be testing you, but we'll just collectively experiment with something. This is one of my favorite passages. Please read through it. I'll read it aloud in case if there is anybody who is differently abled in terms of vision. So I'll just read it out. You too read it. And after this, I would like you to frame at least 2 questions. If not 2, at least 1, and put it in the chat box. Okay. Once I finish reading, I'll just go to the chat box and wait for your questions. So every day after work, Paul took his muddy boots off on the steps of the front porch. Alice would have a fit if the boots made it so far as the welcome mat. He then took off his dusty overalls and threw them into a plastic garbage bag. Alice left a new garbage bag tied to the porch railing for him every morning. On his way in the house, he dropped the garbage bag off at the washing machine and went straight up the stairs to the shower as he was instructed. He would eat dinner with her after he was presentable in quotes, as Alice had often said. So now I'm coming to the chat box. Let me just see what responses have you put in. Not yet anything. Just one question. If you are using this in your classroom, why did Alice leave the garbage bag? Okay. I don't know how many of you are doctors and not doctors. So I'll be calling everyone with names. So don't feel bad. No disrespect intended. So Devi says, why did Alice leave the garbage bag? Okay, good. Thank you. Of course. I get only one question so far. What is the reason to leave? Leave. Can you please repeat reading? Okay. You can't see the screen, can you? Can't you see my slides? I just want to know.
Ma'am, it's not visible, ma'am. It's not visible, ma'am.
Is it not visible? Oh, you should have told me. I thought.
Ma'am, just now, ma'am. It
Okay,
went blank,
okay.
ma'am. It was visible. Just now
Okay.
it went blank.
All right.
Now it is okay, ma'am. Now it's okay.
Yeah, I just came back. So every day after work, Paul took off his muddy boots off on the steps of the front porch. Alice would have a fit if the boots made it so far as the welcome mat. He then took off his dusty overalls and threw them into a plastic garbage bag. Alice left a new garbage bag tied to the porch railing for him every morning. On his way in the house, he dropped the garbage bag off at the washing machine and went straight up the stairs to the shower as he was instructed. He would eat dinner with her after he was presentable, as Alice had often said. Why was Paul supposed to be presentable? Elucidate the reason for Alice leaving the garbage bag. Very good. Sanita, Siddika. What does Paul do? Okay. Jabir, good one. Why did Paul take his boots off? I think I know you. Sabah? Yes. What is the reason for Alice to return home with muddy boots? Very good, Lakshmi. Where does Alice work? Okay. Who is the main character in the story? That's a big $1 billion question. Okay, you can't displease Alice, can you? Right. Okay, enough. Now you keep these questions with you. Okay, we will revisit them very soon. Don't share your entire screen or browser. Somebody saying something? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll just go back to the slide. I hope it's visible to you. Now just leave the questions with you. We'll come back to this question at the end of the session. Now I need you to think about the link between teaching, learning, and assessment. And checking on the time thing, we won't be spending a lot of time here. You look at the cycle. So you plan the teaching, and then you actually go for teaching. Learning happens, okay? Then we assess the learners. All right. So beautiful, right? Very easy. You plan, then you teach, then you ensure that they are learning, and then you assess them. And again, it goes for planning. So actually, this is an ideal circle. How many of we practice this is a question actually that we need to think about. Everybody has a course plan. So the syllabus is there. Based on that, we have a plan. Nobody goes to a class without any plans. And there was a time when I thought that I can go to any class and then talk without any prior preparations. It did work to some extent. But after that, it becomes so monotonous, or it becomes like I'm fed up with my own way of teaching. So there is need to continuously progress in our own teaching methods, or continuously experiment with our own teaching methods. So therefore, we plan. Every single session we plan. Every single course we plan. So probably initially itself, in the beginning of the semester itself, you will have a course plan on which you will make slight modifications. Okay. So you plan, you think about the plan, you make changes, then you go for teaching. Actual teaching happens. And while teaching, you're not just a machine who's delivering things. You will be also monitoring the students' progress. You will also be observing whether students are interested in this. Imagine this class happening at St. Joseph's College in their big hall, auditorium. And then I had the privilege of seeing each of your face and then talking to you, reading your face. All those privileges I would have had. But now that facility or faculty is totally absent. Therefore, I can see you only as bubbles, and I cannot make anything out of these bubbles. Only thing is that I have some access to the chat box, and from the responses there, I know that some people are responding to it, some people are thinking about it. So I closely monitor things. Similarly, all of you have the experience of monitoring your students, monitoring the teaching practice that happens, the learning process that happens in the classroom. At the same time, I would like you to ask this question to yourself. When you teach in a class, do you observe only the students, or do you go a level higher? Okay, just a level higher, and think about how you are being received by the students. Do you ask that question to yourself? Am I making sense? Am I being accessible to the students? What I say is reaching to the students or not? Do you ask any such questions? And do you ask this big question like, am I actually serving the purpose? Am I doing something really sensible? Am I delivering it in the same way that I planned? Or am I just making a positive modification, or a negative kind of glitch is happening? Are you asking any of these questions when you are teaching? Think about it. As the bio note goes in the beginning, I studied in the English and Foreign Languages University, and some of you might have had experience with the EFL University. And all the great teachers over there, they used to, when we go for doubt clarifications or whatever, they used to say that, okay, this is your question, Kartika. Okay. And then they have something to say. And after that, they say, think about it. So this think about it is a favorite phrase that I picked up from EFL University, from those great professors. And I understood that that phrase has such great potential. You keep on thinking about things, and one person gives you an answer, and that's not the dead end. From there, you pick it up, and then their new thoughts are being generated. So it's very important to think about things, okay? So when you teach, you observe, monitor the student progress. There is no doubt in that. But along with that, what I am trying to tell you is to think about your own teaching practices, think about your own accessibility, your own cognitive level being reaching to the students, and your own planning being executed in the right way in the class. Think about it simultaneously. It takes a lot of energy from the part of the teacher, a lot of effort too from the part of the teacher to do it simultaneously. But once you do that, you feel that your teaching and you as a teacher has excelled in many different ways, and you can easily see the kind of receptibility, reception that your ideas are getting, or your teaching is going to get from the students. Now let's come to the learning paradigm. If you go to the next bit, it's learning. So when you notice that the students are learning, how do you ensure that they are learning? You ask a question, they answer it properly, and each of them will answer the questions differently, and you cannot say that everybody learns the same way. Each of them is different. So how do you monitor that? You have to make sure that you have a record of their own learning, so you understood it. So it's not always like with a pen and a paper or a digital device that you voice record them, or you make notes about, okay, this person has done this and that person didn't do this. No, as a teacher, you have that ability to notice, read from their faces about their effectiveness, and then not effectiveness, their performance, and then therefore you assume that, okay, today's class is well received, or maybe this component needs a bit of clarification, and you do it outside the class perhaps, or you do it in the next class, or maybe you take 10 minutes extra, or you ask the student to come to you and then clarify the doubt, if it is only for a few of them. And if it is for a larger proportion, you will even rethink the methodology of teaching, or the way in which you try to teach them that particular component, don't you? Think about it. And promote self-evaluation. But considering the kind of time constraints that we have in our classes, we teachers are not actually promoting self-evaluation. These are all techniques, okay? If you promote self-evaluation, the learners are going to realize it themselves that, okay, I haven't got something from the class which others might have got. So what is that missing bit of information? So there is an information gap that is being created there, for which they have to actually come up with. And don't think that I'm talking about the highly motivated, super intelligent students. No, students are always students. You know that they have their laziness, they have their lack of motivation to study anything. Sometimes I felt like my students are not even interested in their lives at all. Leave aside English, nothing at all. They're not interested in anything. Not now, but earlier I used to feel that. But then there are certain things that we as English teachers can do to make their lives interesting, and our lives too interesting in classroom, with slight changes in our pedagogy. Okay, and questioning is one important aspect of it. And rather than you asking questions, imagine a situation where the learners are given freedom to ask questions. You may say that immediately that they may not want to ask questions, they are lazy, whatever reasons you give. Think about some ways in which they can actually ask you questions. And if that ideal condition, that students, multiple questions are coming from the part of the students, I'll call it as a very effective kind of a classroom. And questioning is one skill that is totally different to acquire or learn. It's only through practice and only through listening to good questions that you have that acumen of asking good questions. It's very difficult to ask a very sensible question. People ask lame questions all the time. Just think about going through a village, and then the person who comes against you may ask, where are you going? What is the purpose of that question? It's just a conversation opener, and anything could be asked, or a smile could be better. But then the person asks, I don't know whether this is true with you, but in my case, in my village, I've seen people doing this all the time. Where are you going? Where are you coming from? What is the big deal of that? So it's from that simple level, questioning skills. Nobody has that perfect skill. So now come to assessing part of it. So we teach and they learn, and then we assess, we give them feedback, we report in the sense, we explain the scores to them perhaps, or we make assumptions about their scores, and we identify, okay, certain questions. Question number 5 is wrong for more than 70% of the class, and some of the extremely good performing students are also coming in that 70%. So there should be something wrong with the question. What is the problem with the question? Is it the way I phrased it, or is the concept really difficult for them to understand? You need to think about it. That's where your own reflection comes in place, and based on that you will modify the question. Also sometimes you will have to modify your teaching beautifully together. Now, there are 3 types of assessments. An assessment